So Sean, we're here at Tully this morning. Could you talk to us about the research that goes on here?
So Heather, the Tully test station is operated with the support of the Department of Agriculture, and the key purpose of Tully is to measure those hard to measure traits and those expensive to measure traits that have a key role to play in sustainability. And the key focus here is primarily feed intake and efficiency, and also the capturing of the level of methane that the animals are producing.
Mm-hmm. And how is that applied then on a national scale here in Ireland?
So the animals that come in here are generally from AI sires and the artificial insemination sires, and the beauty of that then is we can apply genomics, and the fact that we have nationally invested very heavily in genomics, we were able to generate genomic predictions here that we're able to apply then to the general population of animals, and we'll see that on Dennis Large's farm a little bit later.
So does that help us breed a more sustainable bull for Irish farmers?
Absolutely. I mean, the key thing is that for the same level of output and the same level of performance, we can breed animals that are up to 20 or 25% more efficient from a methane perspective, and there's no extra cost to the farmer. The ability for us to identify those animals and get them used through the indexes out there, and farmers can use that then when they're making their breeding decisions, and they know that they're using breeding stock that are more environmentally friendly.
Incredible. And do you find farmers really engaged with this data? They're really happy to have this additional data when they're making their sire choice?
Absolutely. I mean, traditionally, especially on the beef side, but even also on the dairy side, people would have said that farmers are slow to adopt technology. That hasn't been our experience at all. Over the last 5 years, we've genotyped more or less all of the national herd through the Beef Data and Genomics program, and it's been hugely successful. And most farmers, when they're going out to buy animals now, will absolutely use the genetic evaluation data in conjunction with other data in order to make their breeding decision.
So Stephen, you collect a huge amount of data on the animals here. One of those is feed intake. Can you tell us how you do that?
Yeah, so as you can see here, Heather, we have these systems here for recording feed intake behind us. They're an Instantech system. They originate from Holland. And effectively, how it works is every animal has an EID tag in its ear. And when the animal approaches the box, there's an antenna that reads the transponder. So that can tell us the national ID tag of the animal. When that animal ID is read, then sensors see that there's a physical object there, which is the animal. So it drops a chute, and it allows the animals into feed. And then these are on weighing cells. So the animals there, currently there's 31.1 kilos in this box. So if the animal eats 0.2 of a kilo, then it'll be 29.9 when the animal exits, and the chute goes back up. So there's a new start for the next animal that's coming into the system. And every night then, all the data throughout the day is calibrated, and we get a full picture of what that animal is at throughout the day.
And do you find much variability between breeds of how many times they're visiting these feed stations? Yeah,
so not so much between breeds. I think, you know, in terms of the visiting, we're finding on average that the animals, in terms of fresh weight, aren't eating any more than a kilo at a time. And they're visiting up to 26 times a day. So when they have the feed ad lib, they come and go at their leisure. But everything, it's really like, I suppose, the feed intake story. It's more the animals within breed. So some animals would have a tendency to, within a breed, certain types of animals with a tendency to feed more than others. But we haven't looked a lot at that in terms of the behavioural of within breed. But what we have looked at is in terms of feed intake. And we're finding up to €1 a day in feed within breed between animals doing the same growth rate. So that's quite interesting. And as I said, really the story is within breed instead of a crossbreed.
Absolutely. And then I suppose then you are trying to use that data to select those animals that are most efficient.
Yeah, so the feed intake has a high weighting in both our terminal and replacement index. And in terms of that then, that information then that we gather here is then all the progeny here are from AI sires of interest. So that data then is filtered back into the sires, and then when the index is evaluated, then that information is contained within that index. So it has an important role, feed intake, in terms of the indexes.
Absolutely, and you do some excellent work here looking at methane as well. You record that. Can you speak a little bit about that? Yeah,
so we have green feed boxes behind us, so they're up there. We have 10 green feed boxes on site. Every green feed box we have here accommodates 25 animals. And it works quite similar actually to the Instantech system in that the animals have an EID tag in their ear. As the animal, there's bait feed used, so when the animal goes in, it gets drops 30 grams of meal concentrates at a time. and it gets 6 drops every 30 seconds. So the animal is eating out of the machine, something similar to the Incitec machine. And how it works is there's fans on the machine that suck the animal's breath through, and that's fed through sensors. So that evaluates then the methane output of that animal. And the animals have access to the machine throughout the day. So as the animal feeds throughout the day and the rumen fills up and they're ruminating, we get methane data throughout the whole day for the animal.
Absolutely. And so with that data as well, are you looking to get, again, a more sustainable animal? You're feeding that into your system for the farmers then to choose, again, a lower methane emitting bull?
Yeah, so similar to the feed intake, it's not currently in our index, but it's a future trait that we know is very relevant to farmers. We also look at meat eating quality, which we know is a future trait. So we're early days yet. We've data just on 1,000 animals at the moment, but we hope later this year to be able to develop an index that can select sires that farmers can use to produce more methane efficient animals. And I suppose a key thing we're seeing actually in our suckler herd at the moment is between the high index cows and the low index cows, there's 0.5% of a difference in terms of methane output. And if we could get that to 1% annually, over 10 years we'd have a 10% reduction. And that's just selecting based on index. Another thing we've seen with the Tully data at the moment is that as animals increase in terminal index, going from €100 to €150, we're finding that them animals are producing less methane. So there's a trend there currently in place that we can exploit even more.